Alright, now that that's out of the way, hello friends, let's talk about some more conspiratorial shit, because that stuff gets me going. Anyway, so we all know COVID-19 came from a lab in Wuhan. If you still believe the wet market story, and if you just believe, like, the big box media in general, like, fucking grow up. Psychopaths, they are winning, and they work in a hierarchy and shit. And I know, like, oh, psychopaths, they'll just take each other down too. Yeah, they will, but they also like to collaborate a lot to get to their ends. And that leads to a net gain in their world order. So, again, fuck anarchy. It's like, it just is a system for new psychopaths to get in charge. There can be a benevolent psychopath, too. I don't know if y'all knew that, but there can be. That's literally like the whole train cart trolley thing, kill 5, but I'll kill 1 for the sake of the 5. That's benevolent psychopathy, in a sense. Anyway, that's not what this was going to be about. So, COVID-19 came from a lab. It was released on purpose, and literally, it's for climate. Like, they've been coming at us with the climate information since fucking 2000 with, like, Al Gore and shit, and no one gave a fuck. No one sacrificed anything. Not even, like, the people in, like, the big corporations gave a fuck. So then they released this fucking virus that they developed, which there's, like, such a fucking paper trail. It's ridiculous. Got the receipts everywhere. They're probably trying to kill me now. Mind waves and shit. I did take the jab, so I got the mark of the beast. It's probably not what it really is, but I did take the jab. I'm optimistic that it is going to give me superpowers. I'd really like to have super strength, so I love lifting anyway, so that'd just be dope. But anyway, yeah, no one gave a fuck when they first started talking about climate issues. Like, no one made a change in their life. I mean, a few people did, but not enough. So how do you control the majority of the population? You use the tool that's always worked forever with power, and that's fear. They used fear. Easy to do with a virus that's super transmissible. And also, you can tell that it was specifically engineered this way because of how, like, low the lethality is, and like also the effects of it. Like, it's just ridiculous. There's no other virus like it ever. Nature would never make some shit like this. But also, every single winter now, I'm pretty sure there's going to be a lockdown of some variety. And that is, again, for the climate stuff. I've kind of been all over the place. Forgive me for that, but if you can put the pieces together, I think you'll find a coherent message. Hopefully. I'm not betting on that. Anyway, climate, yeah. So, super transmissible. And they made the COVID variant and released it for the sake. And you can see with, like, the new varieties coming out that are even more transmissible with the lethality staying the same. They made it to control the population through fear for the climate thing, which makes me think that this might be a form of benevolent psychopathy because none of the common folk were paying attention to the climate issues or giving a shit about it. And during the summer, you have just lower disease transmission rates in general, like the flu. We can never shake the flu. We're not going to shake COVID. Lower disease transmission rates in the summer, so it makes sense that they ease up on the lockdowns in summer. And then every year we'd have the flu season that would come around. And we couldn't shake it. So now the flu is just pretty much going to be replaced by COVID. It's nowhere near as transmissible and can't get around the countermeasures we put in place for COVID, which are going to come back in the winter as well. But this form of benevolent psychopathy by the elite that decided to release this COVID strain, they are doing it to get us to finally take heed about the climate issues, which makes me think it is a lot more valid than I ever gave it credibility for before. Because they've gone to an extreme measure this time, and it's not just about control. I think they just want the planet to survive. So, the coincidence here, which, you know, there's no such thing as a coincidence, if you guys know that guy. When they lock down in the winter, it reduces carbon emissions by 7%, which is the goal set out by the WEF every year for carbon reduction, to make us not fuck up the threshold in the system we're currently living in and enter a new paradigm. So that's just fucking suspect. And it makes sense also because in the winter, especially in the more developed parts of the world, which are just usually north of the equator, because that's just how history's been so far, all the trees that sequester carbon dioxide lose their leaves. And not everyone, a lot of people have seen that map where it's like the carbon emission rates during the different seasons. And in the winter, there's just such a buildup in the atmosphere that the trees need to take back as soon as the winter ends. And that's why this disease is kind of like, I don't know who came up with it. I don't know if we'll ever figure out who came up with it, but whoever did come up with it, damn, what a stroke of brilliance. Now, it is psychopathic, but again, kind of benevolent psychopathy. Yeah, and that's just what I wanted to say. I'll sum it up to try to get a more coherent message at the end here. Psychopaths made COVID-19 to get people to adhere to the climate restrictions, and the fact that it's a disease with a high transmission rate makes it the perfect thing to justify lockdowns in the winter when there's no trees to sequester the carbon dioxide that enters the atmosphere. God bless.